Okay, let's get this going. Ta-da! Welcome to Sheepless Needles, vegan podcast, not about being vegan, where we do all sorts of fun stuff. We talk about knitting, we talk about gaming, we talk about the big echo, we talk about snoring cats off camera. We just, pull up a chair, we just gab, grab a project, let's get going. I'm Shannon. My cat's Maggie in the chair. My cat Maggie is in the chair. Smithers is out in the other area. Hey, little shocking thing. We're in a different room. It's kind of weird, right? I don't know. We're going to see where this lands. I'm building my office up here, but I've halfway built the desk, so I don't have everything upstairs yet. And obviously, we know what's missing. Bunnies. So I don't know. I may film up here. I may not. We'll see where this goes. But if this is your first time watching, I am normally filming in a different room in my house where I have my bunnies, and they're usually out running around and binking and frolicking. So when you get bored of looking at me, you can always just look at them. But guess what? Today you're gonna have to look at me. So just hang in. I'll make this as short and sweet as I can. I will try not to be as long-winded as I normally am, and we will get through this together. So let's start it. Let's start it right. Here's our beer for the day. This is, I'm going to have to read this on the monitor backwards. Warped Wing Radio Vision. It's a hazy India pale ale. And let's get the specs. Let's do a little can reading here. Okay, it's only 6%, so we're good to go. Can you see it? Can you hear it? Cut through the static and let the radio waves of Citra, Mosaic, Cascade, and Bravo hops transmit you to a hazy place filled with juicy tropical flavors. Look, listen, tune in. Radio Vision. All right, let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. Oh, we're foaming. Hang on, I gotta take these off. Okay. It's gonna be real foamy. We're just gonna we're gonna let this settle down for a hot second, and we'll come back to it when I can actually drink it. All right, so how have you guys been? How's your 2 weeks been? Little thumb update. No, it's not any better. I mean, it's a little better. It's still, it's a big thumb. I go to the specialist tomorrow morning at 8:20 in the morning. And let's just, everyone, fingers crossed, no surgery. I'm assuming I'm going to have an MRI, or I don't know if you can do an MRI. What do you do for a thumb? X-ray? I don't know. Whatever they're going to do, they're going to do. We just need it done. And hopefully that will help with my knitting. I love that I was just scratching my nose on camera. Sorry about that. I'm not, everybody, fingers crossed for the, thumbs crossed. Let's hope it's nothing crazy. So that's the update on the thumb. So let's just, let's charge in headfirst into my knitting. Let's go. Oh, by the way, just so everyone knows, this is actually my upstairs room that my Peloton used to be in, and we're flipping the Peloton down to the basement where my rig used to be set up. So I'm trying to get used to the lighting. So if you see me squinting, it's because I've got 2 windows and it's kind of sunny, and I have a ring light. So in the basement setup, I had no additional lighting. I had a desk lamp in the overhead, and that was it. So I think that this is visually going to look a lot different. So I'm kind of curious, feeling wise, what everyone prefers. Now, I know we all prefer the bunnies, so you don't even need to at me about that. If I can work it out, the issue is bringing the bunnies up here, the destructive mode that they have. I really don't feel like replacing the woodwork in this room again, because we had to replace all the baseboards, toe molding, and some other items due to the chewing. And now that they've been replaced, kind of don't want to have to deal with that. Now, what I could do is get an X pen and point the camera down, and you could just see them in an X pen. But I feel like X pens feel like jail. I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's give this still a little chicha. Let's go. Okay, it's not bad, but it's sweet. That does not hit me as an IPA at all. It's good, but it's just, this is more just, yeah, there's nothing, yeah. I don't know. Warp Wing, I don't know. This is not my fave. You guys have so many great beers. It's not bad. It is hazy. It's just a little too sweet for me. Okay, let's see if this shakes the camera. I gotta be really careful. First of all, I have this janky desk that we need to replace up here that like wobbles really badly. So if I hit the desk, the camera's gonna be like we're in a earthquake or something. I don't know. What are we talking about? We're talking about knitting. So let's go. Let's go. Okay. Oh my God, you guys. Addi Rocket Flips. Rewind. Addi Rocket Flex-Flips squared. You guys. I love these. I love them so, so much. I can't, like, Cheryl, I cannot tell you how much I love these. If you have been following my journey of like failures at knitting involving small circumference like socks and sleeves, this has solved my problem, you guys. I hate magic loop. I hate it. I just cannot do it. I have given it more than a college try because everyone's like, it's so easy once you get the hang of it. It's not about ease, it's about discomfort and just the nature of like gripping things for magic loop, and maybe even with my thumb it makes it worse. But you guys, in love. So when you buy these, this is just one of them. You get 3 of these. So you end up with 6 ends, right? So they're essentially double pointed needles just connected. Not essentially, that's what they are. Well, no, they're not double. You know what I mean. Double pointed, connected together. And so they work in the same way that a double pointed needle set does, where you will have one working empty. You start with an empty one and you knit onto it, and then one drops, like yada. You know, I'm not going to explain this well, but like essentially with double pointed, if you've never used double pointed needles or these, let's say you're looking at a sleeve and it's got, I don't know, 60 stitches. This is, you know, whatever. You would put 30 on this one. Okay. You would put 30 on this one, 30 on this one. This is your blank that you would use to start knitting. You would knit 30 onto this, right? And then this needle would drop off and be empty, and you just, Bob's your uncle, you keep going, right? So, well, let's just talk about what I'm knitting since I just showed you. I cannot tell you the joy my heart feels about these stupid things. So this is my Painting Honeycombs sweater, which is Stephen West. I don't even know how long this has been on my needles, but you guys, it's been a long time. And I don't even know if I can get this totally in shot. Okay, so as you can see, I am on the sleeve. And you guys, the last time you saw this, I think I had just finished the hem, and that was it. So what I did the past 2 weeks is for 1 week I worked on the sleeve, and 1 week I worked on my other sweater, which I'll show you. But the thing that I am loving about this is that, just the ease There's no stress. There's no like, I'm going to grip this like the jaws of like death as I try to turn over my work. None of that, you guys. So I am probably almost halfway through the sleeve. Almost. Oh, hello. We'll see. And as you can tell, there's already a hole in my armpit. And here's what I'm gonna fix it with the tail. I'm not even stressing about it because I wear black all the time. I'll probably wear a black t-shirt underneath this. So really, I don't know that you're gonna be able to see that right there, which it is like the Grand Canyon of the armpit, but that's okay. I even followed, there's a tutorial, and I will link it in the show notes. And I think it's Roxanne Richardson, who I love, who had a demo on how to pick up the stitches in the armpit so that you don't get the holes. And I really tried to follow it, but I think what happened, it was the first time I'd ever used these. There was no practicing. I just dove in and did it. And I think my gusto for using these weighed over or weighed out the gusto to pick up the armpit stitches in the correct manner. But essentially what her suggestion is, and I'm sure there's other videos out there on the interwebs that you can watch, is that when you go to pick up your the cast on armpit stitches, that you actually end up picking up a half stitch over, so that even if you, like, let's say you cast on 12 armpit stitches, you're going to be picking up an extra one on either side and then knitting it together on the following round. I don't know if that makes any sense, but essentially what you're doing is cinching in one stitch out from where you cast on the stitches. And by coming one stitch out from where you cast on, you're going to be a stitch over from the cast on hole, essentially, so that when you knit it together, it's going to cinch it together and be less visible. That was probably the worst way of explaining anything. This is why I don't do tutorials, because you guys, my brain works in a really weird way. And I think there's maybe one out of like maybe a gazillion people understand what the fuck I'm talking about half the time because I make no sense. So to me, that made perfect sense. And I hope it made some sense to you. If not, watch what I put in the show notes. Roxanne Richardson, and I love her. I think she's great. I think she's got a lot of great technique videos. I've learned a lot from her. So check that out. And you guys, I'm going to be done with, I took the boat to Sleeve Island. I'm going to be here a while. That's okay. You know, it takes some time. I can do probably I would say I'm averaging probably 5 to 7 rounds before my thumb is like, I'm done on the sleeve. So it's been slow going. And someone asked me if I knit with my left hand, would it ease it up? And I really don't think so, because you're still holding, it's a weird internal pressure on my thumb. And then the joint on the top side will just start swelling, and it will just smart. That's what we'll say. It just smarts like a smartie. So anyway, here's my sweater progress. Totally excited. I am marking my decreases as I go, and we're gonna hope that these buff guns, because I've been lifting some weights, fit into the sleeve. You know, I'm going to be like Sarah from the Terminator. I'm going to be doing pull-ups. And there's going to be fire and explosions behind me. It's going to be phenomenal. Whenever I have to do something difficult, this is just this is a life tip. Whenever you have to do something really difficult, what you need to do is picture yourself walking away. You know what I'm talking about, like from adventure movies with the big ass explosion, and you're just not even phased. You're just boom, boom, boom. I did that. That's what I do. That's what I picture every time. Sometimes I have to do that before I go to the dentist because I don't like getting Novocaine. And that's how I get through it. Okay, you guys. All right, so again, I will put this in the show notes, and I will put Roxanne's information in the show notes. This is living in my bird watching bag, which is Fat Squirrel. I never get this right. Fat Squirrel Speaks. Oh, it's a mouthful. Who is a wonderful woman who is in Indiana, which is literally a hop, skip, and a jump from me. So I hope one day I'm able to run into her at some event and give her a big old hug if she's a hugger. If she's not a hugger, then I'll just like keep my distance and be like, hi, it's me, your #1 fan. And there'll be explosions behind me. Yes. Okay, hold on. Everybody drink. I don't care. Get your V8, get your noon. Let's have some beverage. Okay. I didn't tell you about the yarn I was using. It's Premier Anti-Pilling Basic DK on that sweater. It's my go-to yarn. Raven is the black color. The yoke, I believe, and I get this wrong every time, I will try to find it. I think it's Knit Picks Comfy and just a selection of color. So there you go for that. All right, so next sweater up, you guys, is my Dustland sweater. Stephen West. There's a theme. There's always a theme. Come on. The last time you saw this, had not split for sleeves. So I have split for sleeves and done a couple more rounds. Yeah, is that the front? Yeah, okay. So you guys, it is going to be really big. And I did not realize how really big it was going to be, but it's going to be, this is going to be what we call, my sister called it, hey, Shannon, that's your weekend sweater. I was like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. I don't know how I got it to be this big. And here's what concerns me. Like, it's the same friggin' size as the painting Honeycombs, like measurement wise, like for the chest. But this thing is huge. Anyway, you guys, hang on. I wish I had a better setup. I'm sorry. This is what you're dealing with today. So basically, I have done, whoa, there we go. All right, so I've done a good chunk of a section, a full section, and I started another section underneath the armpit once I split. The only thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to learn from this the next time I'm going to try to do this. I don't know if any of you are like this. First of all, the pattern's wonderful. I have no complaints about the pattern at all. And I really don't have any complaints about the size, because if you've been watching me, you kind of know that I don't like a form-fitting anything. So I just don't. What I want to try, and please put something in the comments if you have tried this, or I don't know. When you split for sleeves and you do the cast on stitches, I don't know why I have never put markers on those stitches. I really wish I would do that, because it would make it much easier for me when you go to pick up the sleeves to find those frigging stitches properly. Because, you know, when you stare at it one way, like if you're looking at the sweater, okay, if you're looking at the sweater from this direction, right, and you're going to be picking up from down here, like you find your stitch, you put your needle through it, and then you flip it up. Like everyone does the same thing so that you go in the right direction, I guess. I'm not sure. Listen, I just watch a lot of videos and I barely understand them. So hang in there. But my feeling is if I would just put markers on those frigging stitches to begin with, then I could just spork it, flip it, and go about my business. Because half the issue with picking up sleeves for me, the whole issue with picking up sleeves for me is making sure that I'm actually going into the right stitch. Like obviously, you know, if you're looking at this from here, you know, this guy's not a stitch. That's just you know what I'm saying. So you come over one and then okay, listen, here's the deal. All I'm trying to say is, Shannon, the next time you knit a sweater and you split off for sleeves and you do your cable cast on of how many other, you know, chichas need to go under your pit, put a friggin' stitch marker in each of those stitches and see if it helps you when you go back to pick up the sleeves. I don't know if it's going to help me or not. It may not make a difference at all. I just know that part of my, and perhaps my struggle is, and this could very well could be, because I knit a lot in black, black is hard to pick up to begin with. Like if you've knit black, like true black sweaters or anything where you need to pick up or like do, like even the rolled neck and hem on the Painting Honeycombs, holy crap, picking that up in black and even in the best of light is not an easy task for me. So I am wondering if maybe my difficulty with picking up the sleeves on that sweater not only is the fact that it's the cast on stitches, but the fact that they're black and I can't really see. So my point being is, will the markers help me or not? They can't hurt, right? It's not going to hurt me to try it. So I need to, on my next sweater project, which will probably, it'll probably be the Witching Hour, which I was supposed to cast on last year in April. So I'll probably cast it on next April, 2024. So just look out for that video because I'll put markers in the pits, okay? All right, so anyway, Dustland Sweater is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful project. And the reason why I'm really, oh, look at all that just yarn barf right there. Yeah. The reason why I really like it is obviously, knits and pearls, no slip stitches going on here. But once you get tired of doing one thing, you're just moving on to the next section, and it's not boring, but it's still TV knitting, meaning that it's not overly complicated. Like I can do other things while I'm knitting it, unlike his shawls where I'm like, holy crap, how many, counting, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying. So it is a very enjoyable knit. I don't see any reason why a beginner knitter couldn't do this sweater. I really don't. I think this would be a great first sweater because top down, listen, all of you bottom up people, I can't go there with you. I just can't. I don't love it. I love a top down. I love a top down. So that's number one. It's a yoke. It's a really easy thing. You can try it on as you go. So like in this case, I didn't try it on, but that's okay. Cause I knew I wanted it to be big. So like, let's just say I knew going into this that I was like, oh man, the yoke should be ending here and somehow it's all the way down here. Then you just don't do one of the repeats, right? And then you just split for sleeves and continue on the pattern. It's really intuitive. And okay, so if it's your first sweater, it's a really easy thing to do top down split for sleeves with a yoke sweater. Super, super easy. I mean, take your time. Don't sweat, don't turn red, don't get it's going to be okay. If I can do it, you totally can do it. Because let me tell you something, in the world of knitting, this girl, I don't know what the hell I'm doing half the time. I really don't. I just love to try things and I love doing it. So you listen, if you're a beginner, you just go, and don't even worry. And that's the other thing. Here's the thing. Because it's not vanilla stockinette, boring. If you make a mistake, you can hide it. Like you would never know. You'll never know if there's a mistake in there. Now, if it's me, you're going to know because I'm going to tell you about it. But guess what? I haven't had any major mistakes yet. Knock on everything that's around you. But again, I think it's a super easy pattern. The only thing that, frog in my throat. The only thing that I adjusted was this color. So I'm doing the collar, the sleeves, and the hem I'm going to do in this teal. And again, this is Premier Anti-Pilling Worsted. So I think it's a wonderful, wonderful pattern. Please knit it. It's going to be cozy and fun. It's cozy and fun. So you guys, that is what my little thumb was able to do. And I'm like super stoked about that because I really thought, so I just totally threw that on the floor. I really thought that I was not going to be able to knit at all. Like my thumb, let me just tell you, when it swelled up, And I looked down, I was like, oh, it's been okay. It's been okay. But it's a little ugly. But if you're looking at me for my thumbs, that's a new kind of fetish that I don't want to have anything to do with. I would take the thumb over the foot. I don't like feet. Okay, so what else do I have to talk about? Because that was the knitting. You guys, that was the knitting. So we should just be happy I had knitting. I'm happy I had knitting. And hopefully the next podcast, I'll have a report on this and we'll see. I think that depending on what I concentrate on, like if I just say, hey, I'm going to gun through the painting honeycombs, I can probably have that done in 2 weeks. But if I'm doing, like the problem with me is I do have that like, oh, squirrel type of thing that happens. So I may, in all intentions, try to finish that, but something else will pop up. Like I've already had things come up in my feed where I'm like, but I need to gear myself. Like I need to stop overwhelming my life with things that I can't finish because it makes me feel like a failure. I was watching something. It was like his name's Hair Buddha. I'll put him in the show notes. He does reaction videos to hair and like spa things. And he's like, you guys, it's a fail, but think about this. That's your first attempt in learning. If you learn from it, it's not really a failure. It's like, oh, first attempt in learning. That would be a lot in my life. But if you're not trying, you can't succeed. So, I'll try. Okay, so the other thing, you guys, do you see this? Little rewind, 1987, Twist of Shadows. If you haven't heard that album, you go look it up. I loved Zymox. Like if I picture when I listened to Zymox, it would have been the same time I was listening to like Erasure and Depeche Mode and the Smiths, and I'm like the House Martins. Like I could go on ad nauseum about what I was listening to, but anyway, I listened to the shit out of Twist of Shadows. So my friend, my bestie, texts me back in December, was like, "Hey, did you see who's playing in Columbus?" It was Zymox. And I was like, "What?" I was like, "It can't be the same band." So we bought tickets, and you guys, we went. We went on Thursday, and it was in Columbus. It was in a little diner called Scully's, which if you're from that area, you know exactly what this place is. It's a prior to COVID, it was a working diner where they had a kitchen where you could go in and eat dinner, like sit in a booth, get like great food, and then when you're done, you just go into the back room, and that's where the show is. Super small venue. I think I've seen maybe 3 or 4 bands there. I saw Front 242 there. I saw Band of Skulls there. I have now seen Zymox there. You guys, it was so good. But it literally, the minute that they got on stage, I immediately was like, oh my God, I'm 17. Like it just took me back in such a good way. They were so good. It was so much fun. The crowd was great. The opening band was the Bellwether Syndicate. I think they're out of Chicago. They were really good too. And at one point, because I'm really the huge Zymox fan in the family, so at one point my bestie and the Mr. Editor were like, "Hey, we're gonna go up the balcony." I was like, "Well, what are you going up there for?" They're like, "I think that's where the merch is," and it was. So they got me this T-shirt. But when they went up, because I wasn't gonna leave the floor where I was, they got to meet the Bellwether Syndicate because they were up there pimping the merch out. And apparently they were really great, really gracious, and just really sweet. So shout out to them because you guys put on a great show. Shout out to Clan and Zymox, who will never, none of you will ever see this stupid podunk podcast that I have. But I had a great time. But it really was like a huge rewind. And it felt like I was in a club. It felt like there's a club we used to go to called 1470 West. And it really felt like the alternative night at 1470 West. It was really weird in a good way, but it was like I kind of forgot my age. I kind of felt really young, and it just kind of reminded me of those days. It was so fun. And again, I will say this each and every time that I talk about music. Listen, if you're able to go support a local venue and go see a local band, do it. First of all, bands really need support right now. Obviously, the world is a little crazy. All artists probably need support, so it's not just music. But in this case, the merch sales are hugely important for bands, and ticket sales to some degree if they're not being done through Ticketmaster. Yeah. So if you have a chance to go do it, do it. You will have a good time. Even if it's a band you're not familiar with, you may see something you like. You may hear something you like that you didn't think you would. You might meet some cool people. Like every time we go, like Mr. Editor could talk to an inanimate object and make them talk. Like it's crazy. He talks to everyone. He makes friends wherever he goes. And so it's always fun to go to things like that with him because he's just a friendly face that people like to talk to. And so you just end up meeting people as a result of it. So anyway, had a great time at that. Never in a million years did I think I would see them. Now, they didn't play a heck of a lot off of Twist of Shadows, but, I who cares? It was a great show. And let me just say, I'm not sure what the gentleman's name is, the front runner for the band, but he was so funny and so good. And there was some dipshit in the front. And literally, this is a tiny, tiny place. And I didn't take any pictures. If Mr. Editor did, please throw something up. But there was a guy in the front row that the entire time was just like this. And finally, he just stopped playing and was like, "Can you put your camera down and enjoy the show?" And like stopped the entire thing and went on this 5-minute kind of speech about like, how annoying it is for the people around you to sit there and see this and you're not even watching. Like, just watch the show. And so it kept coming up, like, because later on he was like, "Well, I hope everyone in Columbus is having a good time." And he looked down at the guy. He's like, "Except for you. You're frowning at me. We're not friends yet, are we? You're still mad about the camera thing, aren't you?" And like it kept happening. And so at the end of the show, and they played a pretty lengthy set with 2 encores. At the very end, he's like, "I owe you a beer. Meet me at the bar." I was like, "You're the coolest guy ever." Just really, and I feel the same way about phones at concerts. And it is my age, and I understand that. So for younger people, if you do you, but just, I guess what I would say is if you're a younger person going to a small venue show and you have your phone above your head, you need to be aware that you're annoying a lot of people around you because they can't see anything except your stupid arms and your phone. Some people don't like to have media like that at a concert. I just want to enjoy the show. I want to be in the moment of the show. And I think that's probably different. And I don't want to say, young whippersnapper, get off my grass. Like it's not about that, but it is about understanding that you're in a space with other people. If you want to have your phone down low, fine, but A, turn the fucking light off. And B, be like courteous. But this bullshit, oh man, weigh in how you feel about that. And if you are younger, it doesn't, you know what? It's not about younger or older. If you are someone who is doing this, can you explain yourself in the comments in a non-confrontational way? Because I'm sounding like I'm attacking you. I'm not, but I am. Because I just don't understand. Because your footage is not going to be better than a professional's footage, which you can probably find later. And wasting your energy doing this, you're not even like taking in what's happening, I guess. Maybe if you don't like the band, I guess, but I'm not paying to go see people I don't like. I don't know. I've digressed. Okay, so in the gaming world, you guys, I have a new RPG. It's called Trail of Cthulhu. I have not played it yet. I've just gotten the books and I'm starting to read them. But if you know anything about the Call of Cthulhu, if you like H.P. Lovecraft, Lovecraftian horror, There is an RPG that is probably one of the most beloved RPGs called Call of Cthulhu. And in that, you have a keeper who is running the game, and then you have players who are different roles. You can be an investigator, a waitress, a police officer, a burglar. And your goal is to investigate, these mythos ideas from Lovecraft where, there's cultists trying to raise old gods and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, it's a horror RPG, and it's not an easy game to play or run, but it is really fun. And it's not easy in the sense that dice rolls can really kibosh a campaign or a one-shot or any type of game. Because essentially, like, as the story is being told in Call of Cthulhu, you may come across something and you want to, check the surroundings out. So you roll a dice. And if your dice roll sucks, you don't find anything. So if there's a major clue in that area, you don't find it. And if that clue is necessary to carry the story forward, the keeper who's running the game somehow has to figure out how to work that in so that you find it. But you need to roll and get it. It's like, so rolling can really sidetrack the game when the rolling isn't good. And if I'm in the game, let me just tell you, I'm like Will Wheaton. I roll horribly. Like I love dice. Dice do not love me. Like behind me, I have a ton of dice. Like this is my kind of like D&D stuff here. This is dice here. Yeah. So Trail of Cthulhu is based off the gumshoe system, which I don't know a lot about. However, what I have ascertained about this is that it takes out the problem of that bad roll, where you automatically will have the clue, but you roll to see how you understand it. So you having a poor roll does not prevent the story from moving forward or stress the keeper out to the point where they want to rip their hair out because they can't figure out how to non-railroad and get you where you need to be, right? So if you're familiar with role-playing games, railroading is something that happens when you have a story, like you have an adventure, and you as the game master, you know the beginning and you know the plot points and you know where your players need to end up. Railroading is when you don't allow any freedom and you guide them in a particular direction. And you don't even guide them, you force them there. So like they may want to try something and you don't allow them. Railroading is not fun for anyone. And I think that what I've learned is the more preparation you do and the more anal you get in your preparation to run a game, the more likely you're going to be to accidentally railroad. So that's not to say you shouldn't be prepared, but it also means that sometimes over preparing is not a good thing. So sometimes you need to relax. Like in knitting, like I've told you, these two hobbies, you need to relax and kind of let the yarn go where it needs to, right? So Trail of Cthulhu, I'm very excited about because of my bad rolling, and it just seems like a really cool system. So I am going to read more into it, and we are probably going to record some type of RPG playing in the future. So I will put this out there. We've got a couple different systems that we could try to record. The two that I am most interested in right now in terms of me running them versus playing them would be Trail of Cthulhu and Monster of the Week. Both have a little bit of like, because I've never run them, I'm not going to know what I'm doing. And I think part of the joy of that is if I don't know what I'm doing and the players haven't played, they don't know that I don't know what I'm doing. So it doesn't really matter, you know? So there's that. And then obviously there's going to be, standard Dungeons and Dragons adventures that we could run that probably are more accessible to a majority of people who know about role-playing games. I think when you first get into the hobby, Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of Wizards of the Coast adventure style is where a lot of people start but there are so many other role-playing games and systems out there, like rule systems out there to try. So there's like Pathfinder, obviously there's Call of Cthulhu, there's the Gumshoe system, there's Alien, there's Tales from the Loop. Oh, that's another one I'd like to try is Tales from the Loop. There's a game that I think we've shown footage. Mr. Editor, have we shown footage of Generation Zero? And if we have, I don't know, do something there. I would love to do an RPG from Generation Zero. I think it would be phenomenal. It'd be almost similar to Tales from the Loop in a certain way. So there's that. But okay, so anyway, that's my RPG news. What do you think of the hair color, you guys? I mixed this myself, so it's a little crazy. It's a little Brad Mondo, it's a little Manic Panic, and then it's a little bit of amplified Manic Panic. I don't think it's going to last long. We'll see. I don't know. Okay, you guys, now I'm just babbling. And there were no animals in this, and Maggie is over there, and I'm going to try to show you, but it's kind of messy over there. All right, let's just try this. Hang on. She is so asleep in this chair. Well, here. This is going to get crazy. If you have motion sickness, don't look. Here we go. Oh, it's moving. Sorry. Look at that cat in that chair. Look at her. Do-do-do-do. Okay, let's put this back. You guys. All right. Oh, I don't think I'm in here. Yeah, there we go. Yikes. Okay, nope. Mr. Editor, you can fix this. You can fix anything. Okay, so that's it. That's all I got for you in this 2 weeks. I hope you were able to do a little more knitting than I was. I'm really happy with what I got done, and I'll report back on my thumb. We'll see where I get on everything. What are you knitting? Leave it in the comments. Let's share some patterns. Let's share some love. Share a beverage. Okay, so I don't know how we're going to film in the future, but this is what you got. So deal with it. I did. I love you guys. You know what I'm going to say, right? Take care of yourself so you can take care of one another, and love yourself so you can love one another. I love you. Because the world needs a little more love. Cheers. Toodles.